Bello. I'm in my friend's car. Today's my friend's pinning ceremony for nursing school and I'm super excited. The reason why I'm in her car is because we actually live in like the same neighborhood and I don't drive. So I was like, girl, let me just come with you. She's like, yeah, that's fine. But she has to be here at 4 and her ceremony's at 6:30. So I'm just chilling in her car until then, which honestly sounds like a dream to me because something about me is that I love a good car sitting session. I don't really know what to call it, but I've been reading Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber and I have been eating it up, but I'm eating it and I'm confused because there's like a series of events, like, you know, she like makes a deal and then there's like something that happens and then something that happens and then just like things are happening and I'm like, okay, what is the plot? Like, what is the end of this like story? And then there's also, it's a trilogy, so there's like 2 other books, so I'm like, when, like, is it 3 books of like one big plot, like, which I don't even know what the plot is, and I'm like this far into it and I'm just like, am I just now like getting the whole idea of the book or like the whole storyline of the book? I was like eating it and I was like, yes, I'm confused. So that's fun, that's exciting. I don't know, I'm also not a big like fantasy reader. I have been trying to get into it more. I'm a big romance person and so this like seemed pretty up my alley, and the fact that there is romance in it, and my sister loved this book or this trilogy. I'm gonna keep reading, I'm gonna keep pressing on. I'm on page 293 out of 409, I believe, and so I'm pretty close. I've got about 100-ish pages left. The goal is to finish this book by today and start reading the second book because I'm currently trying to reach my goal of 20 books read in 2025 and I'm at 16, I believe. So as my sister really like ate this trilogy up, she was like gobbling away, I was like, if I read this like and I really like it, like I have the 2 other books, so if all works out and I really do like this trilogy, then I can reach my goal after reading like another like shorter book. So we'll see. I'm trying to get it done by the end of the year and it's currently the 18th, so I can do it. We're gonna read it and see what happens next. So I didn't get through Once Upon a Broken Heart yesterday, but yes, I've got about 100 pages left and I can crank it out today. I believe I can. The question is, will I? Let's read. So I finished Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber around 2-3 days ago, and I needed some time to collect my thoughts on the book because I had also started reading The Ballad of Never After, and I think I finally understand a little bit of how her writing style works and the plot that she's trying to paint out within this trilogy. When I had rated it on Goodreads, I think I put like a 4 stars, but in reality it was like a 3.7. I really enjoyed the book. It was interesting and it definitely kept me on my toes and I kept wanting to read it, and like the story was really interesting, but I think I was a little lost in the sauce. That's the best way I could have described it, because I felt like there were things happening and I didn't know like what the end goal was, and in my mind like the only thing I knew coming into this was that like her and Jax were gonna have a thing, like they were gonna like fall in love with each other. And so when that like didn't really develop much, I was like confused and I thought that that was gonna be like established in the first book and would carry on throughout the second and third. And seeing now, like having had read a little bit of the second book, I understand that it's like a really like slow burn throughout the 3 books, and so it makes a little more sense now. But at the time I was just confused, and also the fact that like the ending, if you've read the book, just kind of leaves you like a little hurt, a little sad. And so that was sort of my thought process behind it. But now I sort of have an appreciation and idea of like what her writing style is, and can carry that into my rating of Once Upon a Broken Heart. I forgot the book title for a second. I then started reading The Ballad of Never After, and I actually got it on my Kindle through the Libby app because I just read faster on the Kindle, and it's been interesting to say the least. And so I definitely was like jaw dropped at a few moments, and I appreciate that because I feel like I like to predict what happens in books, and so when something happens and I don't predict it, I'm kind of like, oh, like that one got me. So I'm gonna keep reading and hopefully get to the 3rd book pretty soon. And so yeah. I've officially finished The Ballad of Never After. I finished it yesterday in the morning. I was just doing like a little morning reading, and then I just couldn't stop. I think I was at 80% when I started, and I just couldn't put the book down until the very end. And honestly, this book was a 5 stars for me. I enjoyed it a lot more than I enjoyed the first one, and I enjoyed the first one, so that's saying a lot. The chemistry between Jackson and Evangeline gets really good in this book, and so I really enjoyed that a lot too. And the cliffhanger on this one, I ran to get the other book so I can figure out what happens, and I'm on page like 39 of this book, and so I'm gonna try to knock this out. Okay, update. I've been reading A Curse for True Love, and it's really good so far. I have a few housekeeping things to do, and so I'm gonna probably audiobook it while I do those things so I can get through as much of the book. But oh, if you guys have read the whole series, or if you've read A Curse for True Love, I am just like pained for Evangeline. Like, girl is going through it and she doesn't even know. Like yeah. Anyways, don't want to reveal anything or spoil it for anyone, but I just am feeling for her right now. I'm gonna listen to the audiobook. I'm not a really big audiobook person, but it's because I usually audiobook books that I'm not really into, like tune the book out. But hopefully, because I'm so invested in this book, I'll be able to listen to a little bit of it and grasp as much as I can. I need to be quiet because my sister's asleep, but I am about halfway done through A Curse for True Love, and it is so good. So good. I'm so excited to see the end, and I'm scared to see the end because my sister's read it and she like was crying towards the end, but she said they were happy tears. Okay, so I finally finished the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, and these are my thoughts. Overall series, I would give it like 4.75 is what I would give it. Now, these are my individual ratings. The first book, I would give it a 4.5. Second book, 5 stars. That was like my favorite book. I think I would read it again, just that book, because it was that good. And then the third book, I would say is a 4.5 as well. However, I do feel like there were some parts of the book that weren't resolved, and that could just be because I didn't read Caraval before reading this series, which I kind of regret now because people are like, you have to read Caraval first, and I'm like, because I didn't do that. And Stephanie Garber recently released that she is going to be making a novella for this series, and so I'm like, maybe that will answer a few of the questions. But overall good ending. I just feel like some parts of it were not completely resolved. There were some things I was like, and I kind of finished the book with like a okay. But regardless, I really enjoyed this series. It was really good, and like I said, I'm not a big fantasy reader, but the simple world building of this book has allowed me to really appreciate fantasy, and I consider myself a fantasy girl now because it's a really good book, and I just love the idea you can kind of do whatever in fantasy. And so I really like that, and it has grown my love for fantasy for sure. It's definitely going to be one of my top genres up there for 2026, and so I'm really excited, and I'm glad I got to finish off the year reading that series. It was a fun little whimsical read, and I would recommend it to you guys, so you should read it if you want to. I also don't have the copies, so let's just pretend I'm holding it because they're back at home and I'm in my apartment. So yeah, but that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. It was a little chaotic, but we will get better. Yeah.